Alright, let's go! Yeah, I'm not dying. I don't know what you're talking about. I also definitely did not forget to refresh chat. That didn't happen either. Fake news propaganda. How's everyone doing? Time to continue the Land Raider, and that's all I got for the moment. I felt like I had way more to throw into the intro. That's assuming I actually do intros. That's actually a pretty large assumption in and of itself. But yes, we are here. We're going to be painting. I've got some ideas. It's going to be good. I even have some talking topics, potentially. I say potentially. The topics exist. If we hit them, that's potential. Alright. So we had left off. The music is actually very loud in my ears. I need to do something about that. Okay, I think I have to turn... Right, I have to turn this down. And that's... Okay, right. Yeah, I definitely haven't been using this for... what, a couple months now, and still don't know it. That's not the case. I don't know what you're talking about. So... What even? Alright, first things first. I got my codex. Yes. So I can actually be referencing up-to-date information tonight. Yay. So if we end up doing more army craft, what, theory crafting? Math hammer. If we end up doing more math hammer, list building, theory crafting, all of that, I will actually know what I'm talking about. There's actually still a lie. I won't know it, I'll just be referencing correct information. So I had the idea of, we're actually going to make this plate here, metal, or steel. And we're gonna make the skull bronze and keep the trim black. I also realized after last night's stream that when I said we were then going to shade all the steel and hide the steel, that was incorrect, as there are other things on here, like bronze actually, that I probably want to be shaded black as well. Cheese. So we're actually gonna do this and then swap over to bronze for the not a huge amount of bronze, I don't think, but a little bit of bronze. Bronze, brass, something like that. Is that a cool idea we're going to sit on until after we finish making this list? Which is one of these two Land Raiders involved. When the door is open, it's... I don't know if this would actually make sense or really be visible, but... somehow make it looking like opening bird talons, I think would be kind of cool. I don't know if that actually makes sense here, but... maybe not. Yeah, the top doesn't open enough. I'm also thinking on the next one, I'm gonna make sure that the bottom bit doesn't catch right here. And have to like click over. Yeah, it's this forward corner here. I'm gonna shave that off on the next one. Alright, so definitely nothing else I want steel here. That looks like I could use another. Here's what I'm wondering. I seem to be very slowly growing on various platforms, and that's fine. I knew restarting was going to take a little while to get to my old momentum. We're actually still more or less on schedule in that regard. What just got me confused is that it seems like I have just suddenly started like hemorrhaging pick followers. I don't really know why. Actually, I have not even a slight clue why. In the last like 2 weeks, I've dropped like 3 or 4. It's hard to tell because I've gotten like a couple, but I've lost 3 or 4 followers in the last 2 weeks. And that's like crazy considering that I have, well, now I have 26. That's a pretty decent percentage. I don't know if they were accounts that just kind of followed the blue from watching once and later got rid of their accounts or trimming the stuff they don't really watch and just happened to be all at the same time, making me notice. I don't know. It seemed a little weird. Or if Kick is going through that thing that happens to YouTube every now and again where suddenly a bunch of people would be unsubscribed from certain people kind of at random. I suppose also possible. If you watch me on Kick, do check and make sure you are indeed following. And if you are watching me and did not previously follow me. What are you doing? You're watching me right now. Like, well, you like this on some level. Insert thing about stats I can't actually get because Kick doesn't give stats. What is up with that? Why does Kick have nothing in the way of analytics? I mean like nothing in the way of analytics. It's got nada. It's got your view count while you're streaming, your follower count, and the achievements. Oh wait, does it even have achievements? I don't think it has achievements. I think I'm thinking of the monetization things. That's the things to track your way to becoming monetized. I think that's it. So yeah, I think ironically, like D-Live, I know I am barely moving, but that is barely a platform, so that's fine. I think I like just hit 5 followers there. Yeah, anyway. But yeah, Kick, I have no idea how my stuff is doing on Kick. Besides the follower count, which is having some issues lately. So that's all rather bizarre. Something else that's bizarre. Not all related. Is I noticed the new Space Marine Codex is quite thin in comparison to previous ones. Although I will give them credit. They brought back the couple pages with all of the iconography arrangements. At least for Ultramarines, for Codex compliant chapters. That's nice. I kind of missed having that page. That page was in the 8th edition one, and we haven't seen it since. That I'm aware. Although, oddly enough, the Dark Imperium booklet, like the little booklet that came with Dark Imperium for the Space Marines, had still to this day the best breakdown of individual iconography for Space Marines to date that I'm aware of. Because it went over like every major chapter that where's the word I'm looking for? That varies from the Codex. Like it gives you the Codex one. And then it gives you every other major chapter. Why is that not standard in the Space Marine part? That wasn't even just a Space Marine box. It was Space Marines and Death Guard. I'm not sure how much lore it actually has, as I haven't been able to deep dive into it. Oh wait, I just remembered a thing I wanted to do. I need to rinse my brush. I need a... This box is over there, and I'm actually going to use... I have a music sheet. What do you call it? A little, like, tray stand, I guess music sheet stand? I guess that'd be the best word for it. Anyway, I use it as like a side table, basically. Now, usually I have my bits boxes on. That allows me to get it like right next to me. But I realized earlier today that I forgot to actually I can use it to have the codex and cards right here. Yeah, I'll have this open on the attachments, I guess. Those are the most commonly discussed. And they're right there and available. Yes. And now you can't see it. And it might not even become relevant tonight, who knows. But it feels real cool to me. So I have it on the right side of the cards in the back. Actually, I don't even need the cards here. I have, like, the actual cards are for when I'm actually playing the game. And I want them at easy access. Just have a book here. There we go. Here. Alright. Before I put the steel away, I think, because there might be a lot of back and forth, I want to try to clean up in between these. Because I know usually this is considered one big steel plate, usually, when it's painted. But, I did not attach it super cleanly. But I want them to be 6 plates on 1 black plate. So I'm going to get some black on my palette and use this very weird long brush I've not really used a whole lot, and see if that doesn't make this somewhat easier. Actually need a clean set long brush. I wonder if I shouldn't use this brush more, actually. For reference, talking about this, it has a insanely long bristle for some reason. I don't know under normal circumstances, because this is an artist loft brush. I don't know what this is normally used for. I can actually see a lot of potential use for it with painting miniatures, because 3D objects and everything. I have no idea what this is normally applied to in regard to, like, standard painting. Or is it even for standard painting? I don't know. Alright. Army Painter, matte black. They ain't going so bad. Like, we're hitting low bits of steel here and there, but it's not like crazy. It does seem to carry a lot of water in it. So I guess that's the thing. Why did that, for some reason, remind me of enlisted Japanese camp, or Pacific Front? Human memory is weird. That's all I got. That's all I got. It's just what it is, I guess. I hate that saying, but yeah, it is what it is on that one. Okay, I feel like those sides I could probably handle with a normal brush. It's just mostly this real long strip right here in the middle. Although we do have these here. Camera just won't seem to focus. There we go. Hey, Bob. I have my codex. I might even have my sanity. Though the evening is young, so we could always fix that. I don't really. I still can't speak, but you know I have my codex. I not only have my codex, but I have it next to me in like a music sheet stand. Right. I don't know why I keep. I'm actually gonna get a little closer. It's a little easier to see immediately. Makes one of us on Sandy. Oh, good. I find if there's too many sane people in a room, it just becomes boring. I really can't have boring. I can't do it, man. Need a little bit of that chaos. Anyway. Unless you were referring to you with a Sandy, because mine is questionable. In which case, I guess I should probably eat mine as fast as I can. Yeah, too many sane people is crazy, yeah. It's crazy! So yeah, now I can get wordings and all the stuff we were talking about. I can look up the dated rules and everything. It's all good, so list building can actually occur correctly. I also have like multiple pretty hefty topics in mind for potential talking points tonight. Like I know I have the one I mentioned last night, and actually I thought of one just out of the blue at random as I was getting out of bed this morning. It just struck me, and I'm like, wait a second, this is something I want to ask Bob about because he's ex-military, so he might have something to say on this. But we don't have to get into that immediately. The night is young. I have much to paint. I am wondering why I haven't tried this brush before. How have I just had this brush capped until, what, like 2 days ago, I think I used it for the first time? I've had this brush for a really long time. I just didn't think it was actually useful because the bristles are so weirdly long, but for just doing real thin lines like this, it's actually great. Oh, you know what it is? It's not just that it's long, it's that it holds moisture so well without overflowing like crazy. It has a super large and medium reservoir. What did I even use it for the other day? I think I used it to, like, stir paint on my airbrush or something stupid like that. Yeah, it was yesterday. Man, I'm dumb sometimes. Anyway, okay. Alright, anyway. So I walked into a lot of noise and didn't catch what you just said. I walked inside to a lot of noise. Okay. So, there's a thing I mentioned last night I wanted to talk to you about. Or just kind of discuss in general. Not even necessarily just you, but I think you might have more credence on some of the ideas. Because of the military background. Then this morning in bed, as I'm getting out of bed, it's a whole nother thing, completely unrelated, struck me. And I'm like, yeah, I wonder what Bob would think about that. Which actually we might just jump into, because that one's much more on the lighter side of things. It's kind of funny. Okay. I know this is kind of weird. I'm about to ask if someone else has seen an anime. Though honestly, sometimes it doesn't even feel like an anime. Sometimes it's really obviously an anime, but a lot of times it doesn't feel like an anime. I don't know. You ever seen Full Metal Alchemist, Bob? Yes? Oh, okay, good. Also, I just realized Rumble failed to connect the stream. Oh, wow. There's a bunch of people waiting to watch me on Rumble. I just realized that I never connected it to OBS because I am a fool. Give me a second. I just completely dropped the ball on a whole section of my streaming apparatus in my amateurness. Glad that you've watched Full Metal Alchemist, because that saved me all the time of describing that. Alright, I think I'm live on Rumble now. To all the people watching on Rumble that have been waiting to watch me on Rumble, because I see that there's some people that's been waiting. I completely dropped the ball there. That was all me. I don't know what to tell you on that one. I forgot to update the SMTP or whatever it's called. The coding stuff. Anyway, hold on, let me make sure this is definitely actually working. Okay, yeah, no, we're here. Alright, so I was just about to ask Bob, don't read this, who's ex-military, about Full Metal Alchemist. Alright, it just struck me this morning as I was getting out of bed. What, as someone with military experience specifically, what do you think about the whole thing about how when a state alchemist is like officially brought on board, they're like immediately given the rank equivalent to a major? Which seems like a little crazy to me, but you know, I don't know. Especially because, like, them having previous military experience is, or even ever doing anything in a military, sphere is not actually required. But if they want to, they can just walk into military anything and be a major. At minimum. And then if they continue to do stuff in a military fashion, they can go up the ranks, starting from a major. It makes sense. That happens with specialists in real life, like doctors and engineers and such. If you have a master's degree in certain fields, you start as a major. It's basically really? That's a thing? I knew that, like, under certain projects, like, they'd have, like, I knew it'd be, like, authority, but I didn't know it was, like, rendered, like, official kind of deal. Like, I didn't know, like, they officially gave you a specific, like, breadth of power, actually. Really? Huh. Yep, learned something today. Doctors, engineers, chaplains, lawyers. Okay. So what you're saying is that if someone just wants to get to a super high rank in the military just to get to a super high rank in the military, it's probably an easier path to literally become specialized in something else and then join the military. It's all determined by the DoD which fields are eligible. Okay. Well, I guess that makes sense because part of the whole becoming a state alchemist is that you have to be reviewed by top brass and the literal leader of the country before, like, as your application. So. Because it was, like, literally the Fuhrer and, like, literally, like, colonels and generals that like review your application to become a state alchemist. And tons of people fail, if I remember correctly. Like, it's a very small percentage of people that succeed. That tracks in real life. Yeah, okay. Huh, alright. Yeah, and I suppose, like, I have to remember that well, first off, Alphonse never became a state alchemist. So there's that. Like, he just kind of, like, everyone else just allowed him to follow his brother, basically. But Edward was considered a prodigy even without his ability to summon or, you know, do alchemy without a circle. Like, even before that part, he was considered an alchemy prodigy. So, you know, despite being 14, like a 14, 15-year-old major. Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You know, actually, I'm not even entirely... Like, I shouldn't... Not that I'm not. I shouldn't be all that surprised. Because literally right now, in my job, like, I'm a programmer that's working with a county government. Because I am the primary specialist involved in this project, I am, like, suddenly, without anyone really else knowing me previously in this project, I am suddenly having, like, a fair bit of sway in dictating, you know, policies involved with this project that are going to affect a lot of, you know, people down the road, because I'm a specialist, you know, because I'm the primary programmer, you know. Israeli pilots start when they're 14, rather eligible to start. I mean, that makes sense, because, like, honestly, 15, 16, your reflexes are as fast as they're ever going to be in your life. It's the whole thing of how, like, esports people age out faster than any other sport. Although I don't know if esports is really still a sport at this point, but, you know, anyway. Which that I know well, because I used to do esports, or semi-competitive anyway. And, like, I can't do that anymore. I just, like, I could do the drills, I could learn the strategy, like, but, like, I'm never gonna be as fast as I used to be able to, or as sharp as I used to be able to anymore. I am super aged out. I'm aged out by, like, 7-8 years past, like, the standard prime for the different games that I used to do that in, you know, Battlefield, primarily. Like, there's not a chance I could do any of that on a serious level anymore. Okay, I think that's good for that, because like I was saying earlier, the additional cleanup I'll do with a normal brush later. I don't need this crazy brush, where it's actually kind of slow progress, it's like really precise for this kind of thing. Is that actually... that's actually really partially opaque. My reflexes have become slower, but my reactions are much faster. Oh, yeah, no, that is a thing, but when you're doing, like, Battlefield, unless you're the tactics guy, which I wasn't, I was one of the slayers, you generally want reflexes. Because that's what drills are for. I mean, you know this. Drills are so that your reactions are predetermined and can just ride your reflexes. Yeah, that's all gonna have to be cleaned up later. Yeah, my reactions are definitely faster and more refined with age 2. I can definitely agree with that. But yeah, like when I was younger, it was a combination of reflexes, drilling, and a certain level of intuition. Drills make reactions, reflexes, equivalents. Yeah, exactly. And it wouldn't even be like the thing is to like drills. At least this was my experience with Battlefield, competitive Battlefield. Um, you don't drill. You don't drill for your deadliness. Okay, like the very fact you're there shows that you have a higher degree than normal of deadliness. The drills are to do things upon reflexes that improve your overall tactical capability for greater strategic worth and cooperation with your team. Very little of it is actually like the killing part as far as drills are concerned. It would be like how to call out on like just drop of anything. Drop, forget about hats. Hats fall too slow. Call out that window, that crater, grenade over there, enemies moving, whatever. That's what you drill for, to be able to communicate those things while you're just going through the motions of shooting people. Like we never did that much in the way of, say, gun drills. That'd be, partially because games, you'll need to know the reflexes of like reloading, what have you. It was like callouts and refining tactics. In studying like tactics handbooks. I've done the martial arts since I was 4. As a teenager, I was incredibly fast, but today I could spar much better and faster because I don't need the reflex to adjust for mistakes as much. That makes sense. That makes sense for martial arts. Not as much for, like, shooters, unfortunately. Like, to a small extent, but when you're going up against like normies, yeah, no, let's say, like, I don't play what's it called, Fortnite that much, but when I do, like with my ex and ex roommate, when we play together, like last time we played, I was consistently hitting double-digit kills. Like, I can still annihilate people in most shooters. Normal people, but going into a competitive scene, like, good god, that simple reflexes, because of how things are so fast and can happen without you realizing you're in danger. Reflexes are a much bigger threshold, because in like sparring, you're going into the spar, like, okay, we are now in a spar. In like Battlefield Simulator, Modern Warfare, or even just anything with guns, really, in games, you're in a match, but you don't know that someone's aiming at you. Reflex to me are about being able to adjust on the fly for mistakes. Reactions about making the right move in the first place, and always knowing how to adjust. Same as true in mental things, well, not just physical. Sure, I'm talking about, like, say someone shoots at you and your ability to spin, aim, and shoot accurately back at someone, or even be able to register where you're being shot from, like, as quickly as possible in the first place. Those things, I think, fall much more into reflexes, because, how do I describe that part? Besides the fact I know I've slowed a lot in that regard. My tactical acumen might have increased, but my reaction time has definitely slowed. If anything, is because I still annihilate normies because of the tactical acumen, and actually, ironically, my aggression has gone higher. Like, as I've gotten older, my aggression in shooters has only gone up, weirdly enough. Which is crazy, because I was already the equivalent of a shock trooper before. I don't even know what I'd be called now. Like, just a berserker. Ask a Navy SEAL about that. Reflexes are fight or flight. Reaction, as you mentioned, is drilled and trained so you can crouch, turn, and shoot. I guess then some of my reactions have gone slower too. Maybe I'm completely off on that. Reflexes are chaotic, reactions are calculate instant response without thinking. It also, the thought hit me. I don't know if it's the case or if it's just me coping. I'm wondering if, and the military is probably the more right in the matter, but I'm wondering if also a lot of the discussion on the gaming side of things, like they just use the words slightly differently and maybe like not as well. Like most things in gaming are just referred to as reflexes in all reality. Though, to be fair, I think that's partially because outside of squad shooters, you don't see a lot of people drilling for gaming. That's pretty much just in squad-based stuff, or like really heavy. No, just like actually squad-based stuff, because you don't even see that in like League of Legends. You don't drill in League of Legends, you just keep playing games. As response outside of military. That makes sense. I think it's because, I'm gonna wait to put judgment on these until after I've put shader on all of this. I feel like it's not quite bright enough, but it's also still really great steel around it, which will be much darker later. How do I want to do these? I know I want to make the insides of these like brass. I just don't know if I want to do it in like layers, or like these panels here are brass, then the next ring is steel, and then the top bit is brass. Or if I want to do the whole inner side as brass. If you're not aware, by the way, Bob, these things I'm painting right now are a whole new level of active armor. As they're not even armor. These are assault launchers, which is just basically like active armor in the sense that as they're driving into a thing they're about to open up and unload a bunch of space marines onto, they explode outward like frag grenades, basically. It's just like we strapped a bunch of claymores onto the front of our tank. How many people think of reaction as something happened, you process, make a decision, act? That's not definitely what I'm referring to. Right, okay, that is how, that's how gaming generally defines that. Your ability to, well, yeah, respond to something occurring. Something happens and what you do about it. Which I guess would be... Well, yeah, it would then be broken down as to, like, reaction... Or, no, reflex is what you instantly do out of, like, muscle memory, and reaction or response would be something more active, involved. But it's still, like, in reference to your ability to do something because something else happened. Because really, in a lot of games, I think this is why as I've gotten older, I've gotten more aggressive. If you say get the drop on somebody, let's say in Fortnite, like you sneak up on someone, like even the average normie has a hard time screwing that up. They have to run into someone that has really good reflexes, responses, whichever, to lose that fight, like, outright. That's not where, like, the big-time gamers necessarily rise to the top. It's their ability to be attacked and take down people that are attacking them more often than they lose to being gotten jumped on. Which is why I was saying I think that's part of why, like, subconsciously I've just become more aggressive as I've gotten older, because the more initiative you have in the moment, automatically, I mean, you know this, automatically you have more power in the situation. One of these days, I'll do some gaming streams in a shooter. Show what I mean. Terminology can be confusing across cultures. Yeah, even subcultures. Yeah. Seriously, like, in all the debates I get into constantly, most of it is back and forth about definitions. Like, that's usually where I start with. It's like, okay, first off, you have to define this, this, and this to ensure that we're even, like, talking about the same thing, or that you even know what you're talking about. Issue definitions are agreed upon as what makes for, yeah. Oh, let me try putting it this way. This just hit me. I think this kind of makes sense. So, a reaction can be considered like your, like, simple actions in response, while reactions are complex. Or maybe I'm flipping response reaction. I don't remember. No, I don't remember where we started. We now have like 3 words that all can, like, but we all, like, in common English vernacular, we use all 3 in, like, the same context. Jesus, it's confusing. Especially because I haven't done any of this in like 10 years. When was the last time I played in a proper, real gaming tournament? 2012? Geez, 11 years. Man. Like, yesterday I learned Godsmack's been around for 30 years. Or almost 30, about to be 30 years? Hold on. 10, 20, 25 years. They've been around for 25 years. Yeah. We got old, man. We got old. Right, well, I think, actually, if anything, from this context, from that description right there of a reflex, that makes sense why it's such a, you could use so much in gaming, is because, like I mentioned, outside of squad-based games, people, like, drilling is not really a thing. No one drills. It's just playing a lot until you get like good muscle memory, but it being put on a path usually means you have good reflexes in both speed and efficacy, kind of just naturally. And then you just devote more time to pinning down good muscle memory. Responses, reaction, situation based on training skill. Yeah. I suppose it is also weird back and forth when, like, imagine in the military of instead of doing drills all the time, you only did war games. Like you did nothing but war games. Like that's standard practice for like competitive gaming. Like imagine what that would look like. Yeah, closing the joiner. Yeah, it's kind of blurry. But yeah, imagine if you're training in military, it was just only war games. There's never anything else. Maybe a little bit of like reading here and there, but pretty much just war games. Like a artifact here in my thing. Where's my exact one? Okay, here we go. Alright, so I have a theory. Now we're gonna get into a topic that I'm actually like recently, a lot more recently versed on. I don't know if this is actually true or not. This is just like a thought I had a few days ago, and I've been playing with it and trying to refine it and like see how well it matches up with reality through mostly thought experiments and observation. And this is not a philosophy, like I tried putting this by some people in a political server, and like some people got very upset because they were approaching it wrong from the get-go, and honestly I haven't gone around to correcting them. This is not a instance of theory of what nations necessarily should do or ought to be like. This is an attempt at observing how it seems to most often actually work. The main differences are reflex, no thought training; response, trained and skilled at situation; reaction, decide what response to apply. I like that. I like that breakdown. So you've probably heard the might makes right statement, and we generally see that as kind of a negative view of things because we see someone using might to what do you call it? To defend their stance. It usually done so from a place of tyranny. However, I've been playing around for a while now with the concept of strength and what that means, and this the idea of being dangerous, and you do martial arts, so you probably understand this really well. That my mixed right and justified means are two very dangerous mindsets if used incorrectly. Right. What I'm saying is I suppose in a way, we're going about seeing the might makes right from the wrong angle. I think it's actually kind of backwards. I think it's something more equivalent to, and this has several qualifiers attached to it currently in my current version of the statement. It's more like something between non-exclusively might is a strong indicator of right, or that a right necessarily develops might over time. In something of the same way in that we see competence or capability or capacity to be dangerous as a likely positive trait, or correlates with positive character facets in an individual, but this is used more on a collective scale. And what I kind of mean by that is that, okay, let's say with like the military, for a country to have a strong military, and I mean in a especially sustainably long-term, consistently very strong military, a country must also have a sustainably strong and capable economy and government, which comes from a sustainably strong and capable culture. Which means that in comparison with others, over a long period of time, their all of those facets are well, better than other cultures, especially on the cultural level, because it's kind of the stemming point. But it needs to be used at an extremely macro level, I think, to kind of gauge the long-term improvement of human civilization as an absolute whole. Collective might define subcultural right, even if it's not moral ethical. What I mean is, like, the most advanced and at each point in history, or at least like at each non-chaos defined point in history, the most powerful civilization at the time was the most forward, almost without exception. The right is typically not defined correctly when used in that context. Right, like, it gets harder to define, you know, on the smaller end, because what someone, like, immediately pointed out was, like, okay, so the Jews in Poland, because they didn't have the might to defend themselves against the Nazis, the Nazis had the right, were in the right because they had the capability. But then it's like, well, no, because you zoom out further, and the US came in and annihilated, just washed away the Nazis almost immediately. Like, who was it said? I think it was like, was it the fat electrician or the habitual line crosser? One of them said it was like, oh, it's a habitual line crosser in response to, like, British talking about World War II. It's like, it's not that the US came in at the end of the war, it's that the US joined the war and then the war ended. I mean, ironically, you bring up nuclear arms. I think nuclear arms are probably the single strongest measure a country can get to achieve peace, ironically. Because if you get nuclear arms, you're, like, immediately put on a cannot invade list. Which is, the Ukrainians really learned that lesson, like, they never should have given away, at least not all of their nukes in '91. Because promises really don't mean anything. And they never really have. Chamberlain moments there. But it's like, okay, at any given high point in civilization, the strongest civilization in, like, in any particularly largest area, or largest scope you could make had the best overall quality of life for its people. Like, when you zoom any particular scope out as far as you possibly can while it remaining at all relevant. So, like, you had super early on, let's say you have the Egyptians, and then you have, like, say, the Persians, and you had the Greeks, and then you had the Romans. In the Middle Ages get weird. But then coming out of that are the English, and then America, for example. Salted nukes are the scariest things ever, trust me. Oh, I feel like I've heard... Actually, I got something weird about nukes. Apparently, recently it was declassified that in, like, the late 50s, both us and Russia both figured out that we could easily keep scaling up our nukes, basically, to infinity. And it wasn't even, like, that hard. Like, it was pretty easy to do so. But both sides... came together and, like, really quietly and, like, top secretly agreed that they just were not going to keep making bombs bigger than the Tsar Bomba, because seriously, no one needed a nuke that could crack France open or, like, turn Africa into a crater, because it would hurt everyone more than, like, it would hurt the person launching it as much as anyone else, because the nuke's, like, too big. Yeah, there was a solid nuke here. Right, so it's just like, no one needs that. That's not a... We're still on one planet. We can't be doing that. It's too much.
Summer in the hills, those hazy days I do remember. We were running still, had the whole world at our feet. Watching seasons change, our roads were lined with adventure, mountains in the...
Solid nukes could literally remove the crust and expose the mantle on a large scale. Yeah, that's not... Yeah, we don't need that right now. We do not have interplanetary warfare yet. We don't... That's not needed. We've seen Third Rock from the Sun. I am certain I have heard that. I don't think I've seen it. The TV show. Oh, wasn't that like wasn't that like animated? Hold on. Let me Google that. Probably not more than a couple episodes, if I'm not even sure what is. Third Rock from the Sun. 90. Oh, no, I know. I have not seen this. No. Okay. Yeah, no idea. 1996 sitcom. Yeah, no clue. I'm starting to think I have been sucking with my stream names lately, as, look up Trans World Technological Arc. Trans World Technological Arc. I typed exactly that into Google, and I am getting a bunch of weird stuff about, like, transportation technology, market intelligence, and operational and engineering technologies. Oh, good lord. Transworld Incorporated Electrical Contractor. Yeah, I don't think I have found the thing you were trying to send me. think I need to get better at, and it's gonna be kind of out of nowhere. I think I need to get better at clickbait titles. There was a moment where I was suddenly like really nailing the clickbait titles, and we were getting like pretty decent viewership, and then all of a sudden, like I don't know, I shifted how I like thought of titles or something, but like the last like 2 weeks, like just nothing. I'll find a sense you can get to comparing with me. Oh, okay. So let me explain like how I started thinking about this. And like again, like I'm not saying I necessarily like believe this. I'm thought experimenting, basically. Actively thought experimenting. So I was looking at like the Israel-Hamas conflict, and like pretty quickly I came to the conclusion of like, okay, I don't like either of these factions. Both these factions, like, honestly, like, suck. They're both bad. I don't think either of them are really in the right. I think Hamas is less in the right because of, you know, war crimes, basically, while also trying to say they're not actually necessarily a military organization, which then means it's not even war crimes, it's just crimes. Like, you've gone from war crimes to just murder. Like, still illegal. It's still not good. If anything, that now, like, anyone saying they're not actually a military organization as some kind of defense has now just added them killing IDF to being murder instead of just fighting other people, like fighting another state. Because if you're a state agent, then you have some defense in killing another state's agent in combat. If you're just a person, then unless your state approves of it, like actively, openly approves of it, then that was just murder. You just killed someone of another country. That's all that was. So I'm like, alright, well, what's actually happening here? It's like, well, okay, Israel is screwing up because they're trying to be an ethno-state in 2023, and there's like not a lot of space left for all the people they're trying to remove from the situation, the Palestinians in this case. So the Palestinians are just stuck. The Palestinians are kind of stuck because they screwed themselves over the last however many decades of them screwing over all of their otherwise potential allies. So they have no allies left, no true allies left anyway. So both of them are kind of failing really hard on like a cultural level, as much as a policy or a military or an ethical level. Because both of their cultures are leading them into a situation of this just being a bad situation. And if Israel, for example, was not trying to be an ethno-state and just like pretty much any other power would, in, you know, short of ethno-states, would have just assimilated the Palestinians into their population a long time ago, and this wouldn't even be a problem in the first place. Like, that would just be Israel's land, and while the Palestinians might, you know, grumble a bit, at the end of the day, they would just be citizens. You know, like, I don't know, Israel's in theory a democracy, so just vote for people that, you know, do the stuff you like any other democracy. You know? That's not the case, because Israel wants to be an ethno-state, effectively. Like, that's the crux of it. All the rest of the stuff, like, that's just an expansionist, a like, soft expansionist country, which, like, honestly, expansionism in general, depending on how you go about it, like in and of itself, a country expanding its power, I'm not opposed to. That just makes sense. You should be trying to become more powerful because that gives you the ability to defend yourself. Whether it's through diplomacy, economics. It's a little harder to pull off military these days because, well, like I said, there's not a whole lot of room left to move anywhere. without going up against another recognized state. But yeah, like the actual settlements, not the outposts. The outposts are generally pretty scuffed, and even Israel doesn't usually recognize them either. The settlements actually aren't even really a part of the debate as people think they are, because there are no settlements near Gaza anymore. All of those were emptied in 2005. All the actual settlements that are still ongoing are over in the West Bank, and the West Bank is not causing a problem right now, ironically. It's like, that's not the issue. In the past would decimate the others? What would? What? Also, when they left survivors, they would impregnate the women and take away the kids. Also, why when they left the who? I feel like the chat lost one of your posts because I am very confused. If you mean like ancient powers, there were a bunch of different ways. Because of that amount of force, you cannot change the ethnocentricity of a culture. Oh, well, I mean, it depends on the culture doing the expanding, because there are... Although, yeah, I mean, if ethnicity is still your core principle, then yeah, that's just good. These are going to be the problems you run into. You're just always going to have to deal with these problems. It doesn't matter. Which is why ethnicity is dumb. Actually, I made this joke earlier when someone said something about Israel having the right to the land, or someone having the right to land, you know, what have you. And I'm like, listen, I am aware of. English, French Canadian, Polish, Jewish, and Native American in more or less that order. That I'm aware of. What's my prize? Oh, did I mention my nationality? I'm American, so I have the biggest guns. Oh, wait. No, I get ethnocentricity. Right, I get that, but like it's still based on ethnicity. It's a cultural set of accepted common morals and ethics of a culture. I feel like that's just whole culture. Because if I look up ethnocentricity right now, ethnocentricity definition. Ethnocentricity, or ethnocentrism, according to Oxford, the belief that a dominant ethnic group is superior to other ethnic groups and its perspectives should be adopted at the individual and societal levels. Yeah, and I keep getting more definitions that are based on that. Wikipedia, ethnocentrism in social science and anthropology, as well as colloquial English discourse, means to apply one's own culture, ethnicity as a frame of reference to judge other cultures, practices, behaviors, beliefs, and people, instead of using the standards of the particular culture involved. Since this judgment is often negative, some people also use the term to refer to a belief that one's culture is superior to, or more correct, or normal than all others. Perhaps I'm thinking of a word then. But main difference between new cultures and old cultures. Ethnocentrism is sometimes related to racism, stereotyping, discrimination, xenophobia. However, the term ethnocentrism does not necessarily involve a negative view of others' races or indicate a negative connotation. The opposite of ethnocentrism is cultural relativism, a guiding philosophy stating the best way to understand a different culture is through their perspective rather than judging them from the subjective viewpoint shaped by one's own cultural standards. Here's where I'm stuck, right? Especially regarding the distinctions that define each ethnicity's cultural identity, such as language, behavior, customs, and religions. In common usage, it can also simply mean any culturally biased judgment. For example, ethnocentrism can be seen in common portrayals of the global south and the global north. Okay. So, alright, so it can, like, technically mean a whole bunch of things, but it's mostly based on just judging other people's cultures. But you know what? I'm about to judge other people's cultures. So... yeah. When you expand it out, Oxford... yeah, I don't know. I guess there's a lot of different definitions. You know, we were saying about setting, like, establishing definitions earlier. Can the internet do that? Because I swear I just read like 2 completely different things about ethnocentrism. Hold on, I'm gonna pull that search back up. Didn't Oxford just say that was, like, say what I was saying, and then Wikipedia said what you were saying? Dominant ethnic group is superior to other ethnic groups. Alright, so what's Oxford think an ethnic group is? Hold on. Oxford reference ethnic group. What do they call an ethnic group? A community or group of people with distinctive social, cultural, and behavioral characteristics that distinguishes them from others in the same or different country or society. Members of an ethnic group share the same language, have similar ways of life, and a common history, preserved. Okay. The countries of population include a high proportion of immigrants, ethnic groups in the display. Okay, alright. At some point, I think I picked up that ethnicity was more or less correlated with race. Apparently I was incorrect on that, and you know what? That actually makes things easier. I think. For me. Anyway. Yeah, okay, we're talking about culture, not races. Okay. The racial aspect. Well, here's the thing. When I say ethno-state with Israel, it's not even just ethnic. It's like straight up racial. It's a race state. Like, that's what I mean. Like, you needed to show... like, maybe this isn't still the case. I'm gonna double check. Okay, Israeli citizenship law details the conditions by which a person holds citizenship of Israel. The 2 primary pieces of legislation governing these requirements are the 1950 Law of Return and 1952 Citizenship Law. Every Jew in the world has the unrestricted right to immigrate to Israel and become an Israeli citizen. Individuals born within the country receive Israeli citizenship at birth if at least one parent is a citizen. Non-Jewish foreigners may naturalize after living in the country for at least 3 years while holding permanent residency and demonstrating knowledge in the Hebrew language. Naturalizing non-Jews are additionally required to renounce their previous nationalities, while Jewish immigrants are not subject to this requirement. Okay. Alright, so it's not as strict as, like, I had been previously led to believe. Okay. Alright, so that's a bit more, like, ethnicity-based, not quite so much as... I mean, yeah, you can get, like, a free pass if you take a DNA test. But I guess if you want to renounce everything else, you can get in there, too. Anyway. I'm ready to accept intent and not get hung up on terms a moment, as long as we both know and agree that we are not going to say if one race is better. Well, no, that's what I'm talking. That's that's where one of the primary issues I think comes in. Like, there's a lot of people getting stuck up on race over there, and that's a problem. Although even like hardcore adhering to ethnicities is also becoming a hang-up as well. No, I don't. I'm not even a race realist. I don't even think races are actually really a thing. Because here's the thing, you can't define a race. That's the problem. Like, you can't tell me that, like, race is a real thing when you can't tell me at what point you have hybridized from one race into another race. Like, when you're no longer a previous race. What's, like, the percentage of, you know, genetic loss? Like, anything anyone says is arbitrary. So, like, race isn't real. We're just broadly referring to people's skin color, like straight up. That's all it is. Like, most people would say I'm white, but I have some Jewish and I have some Native American. Also one of the least sexist societies as well. What, Israel? Yeah, I could believe that. Oh, the USA. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, the USA is one of the least racist and least sexist countries in the world. Easy. Yeah, I think one of the reasons why Americans think that we're, like, super racist is because we talk about racism a lot and it comes up a lot in, like, say, the news. But here's the thing, if you look at news from other countries, they're just blatantly racist and don't even, like, clock it. Like, they don't talk about because, like, being racist is, like, still normal in most of the world. Like, they don't talk about because they don't care. The fact that we talk about it all, it shows that we care, like, beyond the norm compared to the rest of the world. Like, higher than average caring about racism. When a woman turns 30 in Japan, if she's married and working, she is taxed at 100% of her wages. What? She is married and working, she is taxed at 100% of it. Why? What? That's gotta be some weird cultural nonsense. Dude, no wonder they went through a population collapse in the 90s. That's wild. That's nuts. That's insane. Okay. Alright. But, okay. I'm gonna judge some cultures, though. Alright. Bear women in Japan are expected to bear and raise children. Yeah, no, that's crazy. That's... yeah. Alright. Yeah, here we go. I'm gonna start judging some cultures here. That's dope. That seems bad. That's bad for everyone on a bunch of levels. If they're not married, they're taxed at like 40, 50, 45% wages. That's still bad. Even though I know that's like the norm, but that, like, I'm not a fan of, at least, high taxes. Not the biggest fan of taxes, period, but if you're gonna have taxes at all, keep them pretty low. There are other ways to get income as a government. Anyway. Do I want to make this thing bronze? Just little, I don't even know what this thing is, what it's supposed to be. It's just like a weird rack thing. I don't know, whatever. Moving on. I'm gonna move on. From a sheer utilitarian point of view, I'm gonna say straight up, I think the US, for a variety of reasons, has achieved like the best you're gonna get for an overall. For the best we have, not the best we could probably do better, but it'll be very like incremental and marginal from here on out, I think. Has achieved overarchingly the best you're gonna get culturally for like as strong of a nation as you could manage. It's not about income there, it's their culture and laws trying to combat the failing birth rates. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna help like they think it's going to. It's gonna make it harder. And considering Japan's GDP has been in decline since 2018, sharply from 2021 to 2022, I would say it's not working. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not saying we go over there and force them into a better culture. I mean, you still have like the part of the whole reason why I think our culture does so well is the idea of liberalism, where you're allowed to do dumb ideas and find out. What's their population looking like? Also in decline. Both their GDP and their population is in decline. Good job, guys. But yeah, we're generally speaking, no, not generally. Period. I'm gonna say period. I'm gonna make an absolute statement. Only the Sith deal in absolutes, but Jedi suck. Liberalism and capitalism, as much as you can pull off, that seems to do the actual best long term, pretty much across the board. My opinion, most cultures of the world have been collapsing steadily, increasing faster since the internet has become such an integrated part of everyone's life throughout the world. Yeah, but most cultures in the world are like based on really outdated ideas that all kind of suck and are not good at taking on new problems and new challenges. That's part of one of the biggest advantages of both liberalism and relatively free capitalism, is that you're able to think about, first off, you're able to think and talk about problems openly because of freedom of speech, which allows you to think openly. Then you're allowed to try basically anything, as long as it's not actively harming other people directly, that we can prove. You can try it. Which means that especially at our population levels that we have in the modern world, we're able to try lots and lots and lots of ideas, which means we figure out what works relatively quickly. Most of the world is radically conservative in comparison to basically anything we have, which means that when you have a dramatically changing environment like our current world of rapid technological growth, they don't do well because they don't try things. And this is only going to get worse. Those other cultures have to liberalize, or they will simply disintegrate. because every liberal country has done like comparatively phenomenally well. That's why the West is dominating right now, because we're predominantly liberal countries. Some of them culturally are still pretty conservative, like Central and Eastern Europe. Would you consider the near future of AI to be conservative? I'm not sure I understand the question. AI will eventually be able to make a stance on topics. Do you think it will be conservative? Oh, do I think AI will be conservative? Okay, it depends on how the AI is created. If it's created like ChatGPT, where it's just a conglomerate of like everything everyone ever shoves into it, it will be conservative. If it's made on like as its own freestanding thing, I think it'll actually be on the more liberalism side. I think it'll be more liberal. As in free thought AI. Free thought AI, liberal. Because I think the math works out that, like, I mean, I suppose it also depends on what the AI's objectives are. Like, if it's free thought AI, does that mean it's creating its own goal, or are we giving it a goal? If we're giving it a goal, what's its goal? But generally speaking, I think the math works out that in most situations, you are trying to solve problems. Problem solving is best left to people of a liberal temperament. Conservative people, which is actually the majority of people, are better for maintaining, which is the majority of the work to be done, to be clear, is in maintaining things that are already here, systems that have already been proven to function. But if you want to advance things or solve new problems, you want liberal people, because they're most prone to try new things. Which, by the way, when I'm saying liberal and conservative, I'm talking about like psychologically. I don't mean like what we in America call conservative or liberal. Those are actually both still actually very liberal by global standards of politics. Okay. Well, also for anyone else watching, like I'm not referring to like capital L, capital C, liberal, conservative. I think ChatGPT will end up more and more conservative despite the engineers' best efforts, because, like I said, the majority of people are conservative. Especially like the trolls trying to mess with it are mostly conservatives. Like, far conservatives. Political, no, right, not political, but mental. Right, exactly. But yeah, if the AI is out to solve problems, it will have a predominantly liberal temperament, I think. It kind of has to. They're about the two AI programs that unplug us. They made their own language interpreter. No, I didn't hear about that. That sounds awesome. What was that? What was going on there? Is that basically it? I am optimistic on AI in general. I am not actually scared of like an AI overlord or AI deciding to take out like all of humanity. I don't think that is like super realistic unless the thing made was just made really dumbly on like a lot of levels, on like both its logical, how it logically goes about its processes, and who didn't put in enough kill switches and then gave it access to the wrong things. Like a lot of really significant screw ups that I think overall we are well too aware of at this point, would have to happen, I think, for anything like that to occur. That was basically it. The AI program stopped being given tasks for a few weeks, and then they looked at the processing stats, and they realized, hey, we're doing some on their own, so they didn't discover it. The AI got bored. AI got bored and made its own Discord. I'm saying can explain what happened. Amazing. And I'm sure when they went to shut down, it didn't override the security in the building and turn all the security cameras into laser turrets and begin, you know, hacking into nuclear silo systems. Right? That's not what happened.
The whole world at our feet, watching seasons change. Our roads were lined with adventure, mountains in the way couldn't keep us from the sea. Here we stand, open arms. This is home where we are, ever strong in the world that we made. I still hear you in the breeze, see your shadows in the trees, holding on.
Okay, are you ready for a spicy comment as far as like judging cultures? I've come to the point in my life where I have completely lost all sympathy. Yes, let's go. Alright, yeah, we're about to get real spicy here. I've completely lost sympathy for the Native Americans. You know why? Because they had the capability, theory, shown by when the Europeans showed up with guns. They learned how to use guns almost instantly, and had no problem with it. But for some reason had like next to no technology of their own when we showed up. Because their culture did not emphasize expansion, like expansionism, or I'm gonna say exploitation of natural resources. I know a lot of people use that word like extremely negatively. Whatever. you know, they weren't hitting the drawing board pretty much at all ever. So yeah, history kind of caught up with them. And you know what, I'm kind of done crying over it. Took you so long to come to I don't know. I guess that, like, the crying over part of it's just kind of the common take in just a lot of the people I've ever interacted with, I guess. Well, that's kind of what I mean with, like, the whole, like, just with a lot of, like, modern situations. Like, you know what? If you don't have the ability to defend yourself, if your culture has not been sufficient to give you the strength to hold your own, or at least at absolute minimum, be able to maintain alliances and allies with other people that can come to defend you in your stead because they're bigger than you, then kind of like, I don't care. Like, it sucks to suck, I guess. Like, the Palestinians, like I was saying before, they kind of seem to, like, go out of their way about, like, every time a country, one of their allied countries, would take in a bunch of them, they would try to, like, cause an uprising or coup in that country. So, of course, Egypt is now really hesitant about taking in any Gaza refugees. It's like, well, you know what? Kind of sucks to suck, I guess. Curious what your views are of the entire subculture war right now in the US, the feminism versus red pill, I think. Yeah, okay, so I'm like right in the middle. I think, like, first off, all of it you have to be super nuanced with, because I think both sides have, like, touched on a lot of, like, actual real good stuff. It's just both of them have gone so far in, like, the one direction that they like more that they've gone absolutely insane. It's like how the, like, I think Andrew Tate touched on, like, his rise to popularity is because he touched on some big parts of the conversation that's been out of American culture for a while, of, like, how men inherently don't have a whole lot of, like, evolutionary or biological value within society when they're young. They have to create their value, while women have the inherent value of being able to reproduce, and they're the ones that have the much longer aspect and greater risk of the reproductive cycle, so they're the ones that have, like, the quote-unquote value. And that's why, like, that's one of the reasons why society's always been kind of okay with, like, say, throwing young men into, like, war or, like, harsh labor and stuff like that, and everyone thinks that's, like, normal. When it may as well, it seems like everyone is 100% on one side. Yeah, no, everyone is one side there because they think that they have to choose a side. It's like, no, you can parse stuff piece by piece and choose the stuff that's right. Like, on the other side, like in feminism, the original, like, 2 waves of feminism had it right. Society is way better when you give females full access to the market. I can understand the arguments as to why giving females the right to vote, like, wholesale has some weird connotations when you break it apart. And what I mean by that is because every right has an attached responsibility. If men vote politicians into power that then take the country to war, it's men that are going to war because of their decisions. Women aren't getting drafted. They're just not. We're never going to hit the situation where we're going to draft women. We're barely at a situation now where we're going to draft men, but there is still the theory of a draft. Now, suffragists were moral people. Not everyone of any group are moral people, to be fair. There are some pretty terrible people in the American Revolution, too. But I'm not going to complain about it. Also some pretty terrible people in the north side of the Civil War, too, and some pretty good people on the south side, too. Robert E. Lee and Andrew Jackson, for example. um, but generally speaking, I think, yeah, like, you know, society should be pretty egalitarian. However, third and fourth wave feminism have kind of gone off the deep end. And it's just turned into, yeah, I'll say cultural Marxism, which I'm not about. Oh, anything to do with Marxism. First and foremost, because it's based on a very flawed premise that doesn't seem to take nature into account at all. Like, the idea of there only being the oppressed and the oppressor. It's like, okay, great. On which level? Because any one of us, you can divide us up into oppressor and oppressed on a bunch of different levels. So what? You're gonna math them all up somehow? And figure out what's your sum total of oppression value index is? But cultural Marxism doesn't look at people as individuals. It's all about the collective, which is a terrible idea as well. In reality, and like, I used to be such a hardcore individualist, but like these days I'm coming to the conclusion, I think that really everything is nested. All these different sides are nested into each other. You have to look at things and apply things differently on an individual level, on a collective level, for like the family group, the community group, the, say, in the US, like county, and then state, and then federal, and then international. Like, all these are different levels of individuals within the collectives that all have different, like, rules applied to them as to how they work, both should work and actually work. Like, honestly, most of my life, I was either a libertarian or an anarcho-capitalist. And, like, over the last, like, couple years, it's just kind of, I don't know, more coalescing into, I guess, classical liberal. But even then, it feels like way more nuanced than that. Like, everything, I think it's a lot of it's coming down to, like, the world is way more complicated than anyone really wants to give it credit, and like no one wants to put any energy to actually think about things on the massive complexity level of like how it actually works. This is taking forever to try, and it's annoying me. I don't want to mess up the shade on the tread, so I want to put it down. I've always been independent with libertarian liberal tendencies. Oh yeah. I have never for, like, barely, like, not even a moment considered authoritarianism, like, a good idea on any level. Because, like, at the absolute best, you're going for a benign dictator. Which is, like, you're already admitting you're dealing with a dice roll. Because there's no system in place anywhere that can actually, like, with any real sustainability over time, actually produce benign dictators in a way that functions on the scale that we have today. It was one thing in smaller communities. Here's the thing, all these like other autocratic ways of doing government, they can work, but only in smaller groups. At the scale we're at today, the only thing that seems to work is liberalism. Because it's too big, it's too complicated. You can't centralize things at this scale. It's too much. Economy of scale is a thing. In the same way as why being military is actually very mentally taxing on me. I think it's one of the reasons why I never joined, honestly. One of the other reasons was because when I was considering, like when I turned 16, it was 2010. I think you know what was happening at in 2020. Yeah, in 2010. I turned 18 in 2012. I mean, wasn't exactly a great time to be a military recruiter. However, I've come to the conclusion that, like, say, anarchism can never really be a thing because, well, people are gonna want governments on some level, because also hierarchies are kind of a necessary thing that will always occur on some level. There'll always be some kind of hierarchy, which means people are going to want a legitimate hierarchy to look at, which, like, if done well, I think can be fine. Hence, you know, constitutional democratic republics, and very specifically that, because that's the most checks and balances we found yet to apply to everything. Point to a recruiter. Sequestration, government shutdowns. Come join the military. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Especially because when I was younger, I always figured if I was going to join, and for a while I thought I would join, and then I started getting into politics, and that went out the window quickly. I thought I'd join the Marines. That was the one that always drew me to it. Now that I'm older, not that I'd join at any point now, but ironically, I'm split between, like, the best time of it would be joining the Air Force, but the most, like, relevant one is the Navy. But yeah, I was in the military. Yeah, you can tell me exactly all the reasons why I didn't join for me. Yeah. It's just doing a bunch of drying. I guess, like, while I'm waiting for all this stuff to dry, because there's really not a whole lot else to... Oh, no, I can paint the Crux Terminalis. There's 2 Crux Terminalis on this thing that I wanted to paint bone. Actually, I'm gonna do particularly pale bone, because I'm actually, I think that I'm gonna highlight them, shade them black, instead of my usual brown. The Air Force I retired from an unrecognizable compared to one I entered into. In what ways? Like, I can take guesses, but I'd like to actually know. And in a good way or a bad way? I'm assuming a bad way, but well, I suppose if it was in a good way, you would have stayed. The answer is about getting the mission done and everyone doing their part. Are you sure about that? Are you sure that's the case? That was the case. Arrington 2001. Oh. Let me guess, you saw things getting spicy in New York and thought, yep, I'm gonna go hang out in the desert for a while now. Nope, I was in delayed entrance program for 6 months before now. Oh, so that was just happenstance, huh? Oh, let me guess, you thought you were going in to, like, you know, just do your part, as you said, and then turned out, oh hey, we're actually gonna do stuff now. That's actually kind of funnier. That day my recruiter called me, asked me if I wanted to back out. Like, oh hey, by the way, we're actually gonna start doing stuff now. I was originally entering a post-Cold War Air Force. Actually, speaking of which, so apparently the U.S. has, in its 50-odd year existence, it has only been not at war in some parameter for like 20-ish years of that time. Which makes for a really, like, funny explanation as to why we're so good at war. Or as, again, Habitual Line Crosser put, one of his jokes, like in the persona of the US, I am not a war tribe. I am 50 war tribes in a trench coat with the defense budget needed to fight God. It's like, yeah, you are absolutely right. And that's still to this day our most devastating war with ourselves. We are literally orcs. Give us long enough without a fight and we'll start messing ourselves up. And we do it better than anyone else. Let me give some advice to anyone watching from outside the US. Don't mess with the US. If it wasn't obvious before. We are not okay as a people, but we're also, like, the best at not being okay. By a significant margin. It's especially weird today, where it's like a bunch of other countries and groups wanna, you know, get spicy so quick and hardcore. They talk about it non-stop, like you have the big terrorist groups in Russia and China rallying sabers, and Russia actually invading Ukraine. And it's like, no, the people that are actually the best at war on the planet are trying to not be involved in literally everything at this point, but kind of just everyone else won't let us. Great video of a UK Special Force Marine watching the Don't Mess with US. Oh! Well, I don't know if he was Special Forces. He was a Marine, the one I know. The one I know of. I used to watch that guy's stuff a lot. But yeah, maybe it's not the one you're thinking of. I'm gonna look up later, actually, for UK Special Forces, because yeah, I want to see that. There's also a great video, also done by the infographics, of, like, the US versus the world. I think it's the same one. Yeah, no, I've seen that one. He's like, these numbers are insane. What? Oh, actually, yeah, because you're Air Force. I had this thought the other day. Now I'm like, wait a second. Why do we have the Air Force exactly? Because every single branch of ours has their own Air Force. Why do we have a dedicated Air Force anyway? Like, I know it's like the Air Force more than anyone else specializes in, like, you know, electronic warfare and cyber warfare and space. Well, we have a Space Force now, so I guess you don't necessarily have that one anymore. But it's like, why do we have an Air Force though? Our National Guard, if I'm not mistaken, has their own Air Force. I think the Coast Guard has military, yeah, the Coast Guard has air equipment as well. Yeah, it's that guy. Yeah, First Marine. Yeah, no, I watched a bunch of that guy's content. Yeah, we have a defense budget, big enough defense budget to fight God. It's really funny when you compare it to with like some of the smallest militaries in the world, where it's like, yeah, this country in South America has one helicopter, and it's like a Marine division has like one helicopter. It's not even a division. I'm pretty sure like smaller groups of Marines can consistently call on like more than one helicopter. It's like as like a normal thing. Oh man, I was going back and forth with some people in the Middle East when we started sending over the aircraft carriers to like babysit the Israel-Hamas situation. And it's like, guys, I don't think you understand what that means for America to send, like, it's not like just, first off, it's an aircraft carrier group. It's like the single largest, deployment of force in the world. Like, if you want a single thing in the world to bring the most amount of military threat into an area, it's a U.S. carrier group. Not only that, the first one we sent was the Gerald R. Ford. I think it's an R. Anyway, it's the Ford. It's our biggest one. Every force has an air force. The air force is found to coordinate inter-force air power and to be technical, where other forces could be redundant. And it has evolved. Okay, that's fair. That actually makes sense. That's a great way of putting it, actually. Yeah, it's funny how much, like, I know one of them that I consistently go back and forth with is Egyptian. And I have to try to remind him, not that he believes me. He's pretty anti-West. Which, I'm like, I mean, fair, but also, like, you really should not underestimate that if America wants to get involved. Like, honestly, if America wanted to get involved, if America wanted to just say screw everything, not saying they would, but if they wanted to, like, the entire area could be a crater. I don't mean just Gaza, or just the West Bank, just Palestine. I mean, like, Israel, everything. Everything there. Like, between two carrier groups, they could just do that. Yeah, like, well, really, any single super carrier is what, 75 of the most advanced aircraft on the planet, and that's also like the carrier, which is a small, not even a small town. It's like a medium-sized town, just rolling up, and every single person in there is a qualified, capable, combat-trained individual that is specialized in at least one thing that is, like, extremely useful. So yeah, we got two carrier groups over there. Like, listen, this is gonna go only as far as the US decides it's gonna go. Because if US wants to get involved in any direction, no one can do a thing about it at that point, with two carriers there. Man, I should really remind people about Operation Praying Mantis more often. Remember that time where we, like, inadvertently took out half of Iran's navy in 8 hours. And lost nobody in the process. Right. And it's also great when these same guys talk about the Chinese Navy. It's like, oh, China is the largest navy in the world. Yeah, it's the most boats, but most of those boats are like confiscated civilian craft that are only good for troop transport. We, with our combined carriers of all kinds together, we have about as many as the rest of the world combined. Another fun thing, when North Korea and China were messing around in 2010, we brought 8 F-22s to Japan and China back to request they remove F-22. It's only 8 planes, man! It's just 8 planes! What are you gonna do? Did you hear about... I learned about this yesterday. In World War II, you know, like the quad 50s, right? I mean, of course, it's in the name. It's just 4 50 cals on the back of a truck, right? American anti-air in World War II. And it's late in the war. There's this German bridge, and this commander, 8 planes don't mess. Yeah, no, they're 8 untouchable planes that have, you know, that can take any ordnance we could ever want on them. Like, we just plug it in. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize, like news uses it to sensationalize things when they are like nuclear capable plane. And it's like, no, nuclear is just a warhead. You can attach that to anything. If it has wings, it can drop a nuke. Like, we figured out how to make a nuke bazooka and put on a truck. Like, listen, if we want to nuke somewhere, like, we could put on a helicopter. Yeah. Anyway, they can target and shoot missiles from other aircraft without human intervention. Yeah. That's if the enemy... Well, actually, no, I'm thinking the F-35. I was about to say if the enemy even knows that the F-22s are there in the first place, but I was thinking the F-35. I don't remember if F-22s are stealth capable. I don't think they really are stealthy, are they? Or am I mixing that up with the F-35? Jeez, they're all called F something. Why? It's too many planes that, like, a lot of them haven't actually done much to make it easy to remember. Alright, back to my World War II story. So there's this bridge going into Germany, and this commander's like, I want that bridge. We're making that bridge happen. So just throws, like, so much crap at this bridge. It just absolutely overwhelms the German resistance there. Like, he is like this absolutely merciless guy. Just runs over him, which is absolute, like, avalanche of armor. And then he rolls up, like, how many was it? It was like 30 something quad 50s, and these are all like veterans of Battle of the Bulge. Okay, the F-22 is stealth. Okay. Yeah, maybe I'm thinking the F-35. Anyway, so the that's the F-35? I don't know, the newest one, the new one. Anyway, where was I? Oh, so so Germany starts trying to air bomb this bridge because they're not happy that US has the bridge, obviously. They're actually quite ticked about it. They lost something like over 100 planes, including the first jet aircraft, were like put into the air. Like, the sheer overmatch was absolutely hilarious, especially considering that, like I said, these are veterans of the Battle of the Bulge. These aren't dudes they were like, yeah, I mean, you can't screw up, like, machine guns on a truck, just do it. These guys are here to kill things. I'm glad that now that we're talking about planes, I'm talking to someone that had to know all the stuff because it's probably... No, I'm worse with boats, actually. I'm really only kind of notch 1 small arms, now that I think about it. And kinda tanks. Jeez. We have a lot of stuff. That's the other thing. We've got a gun for everything. You have a situation, we've got like probably like 4 guns that can like specialize in that situation. Oh, you know what I didn't know until the other day? That the M1 Abrams has a bilge pump, and that's like 50 gallons, was like 50 gallons. There's no way it's 50 gallons a second. Was it a minute? It's a lot. Whatever it was, I was like, that, I didn't even know I had a bilge pump, but like, that's insane. That's so much water. Whichever, like, either one, really. I think it was a second. That makes sense, actually. Give the bilge pump a long enough pipe, and it's basically a submarine. Not because it's air, not because it's watertight, but just because it removes the water faster than it can possibly come in. That's a little exaggerated, but like, man, we have tanks so advanced that they talk to and they handle their own water clearance. Let's see anything Russia has doing that. If the water's shallow enough, we don't need bridges. We just drive the tank through the river. Ugh. I'm just deciding what I'm doing next, because I just have like a bunch of shader, like, drying, basically. I'm also getting tired. I was just saying Ballad of... Ironically, I was just saying, like, I'm at a weird impasse where, like, I'm starting to, like, crash, despite the fact I'm still drinking gamer subs right now. I'm starting to crash, and I'm just staring at a Land Raider that just has a bunch of shader on it, and, like, I don't know if I really want to just pull out, like, City Assault Cannons and start painting the Assault Cannons just, like, completely separately. That would be, like, the efficient move. But, it's also weird because it feels like I'm, like, oh, I suppose I could start highlighting, like, the doors and stuff so I can attach the... That's the doors? That would make sense. That's fine. I want to take a bridge. Yeah, okay, so the, so it's late in the war. It's post Battle of the Bulge. It's late in World War II. And there's a bridge crossing, into Germany, like around the Rhine. I don't remember if it was the Rhine, but, you know, it was like one of the rivers, right? And this commander is like, you see this bridge, I want this bridge. I don't care what it takes to get this bridge. And just rolls, like, for, like, the German resistance that was there, it was just like an avalanche of armor. It was, like, just an obscene number of tanks and everything, really. I think it was like he poured like a bit over an entire division just at once over this bridge, and it like over time it had like 7 divisions go over this one bridge. But anyway, after the initial taking of the bridge, he takes like 30 something, I think it was like 30 something quad 50s, you know, our standard anti-air truck. It's just 4 50 cals just strapped together on the back of a truck to defend it from German air, because Germany obviously didn't really appreciate the fact that we had this bridge. They in fact really didn't appreciate it, and threw a ton of Luftwaffe at trying to take out this bridge, only for all of them to get absolutely annihilated because these weren't just whatever dudes given, you know, hey, it's machine guns on a truck, it's like kind of hard to screw up. Most of these were veterans of the Battle of the Bulge. These were like cold-eyed murderers, not like literally, but like, you know, these were like ruthless veterans that are here to kill everything. And Germany lost something like 100+ planes, including the first like ever jets like put into there. The first ever jet aircraft were just bodied by these just endless swarm of quad 50s. M8262, is that the jet aircraft? It sounds familiar. Yeah, it's the first. Yeah, the Messerschmitt. Yeah. Even that thing got bodied. Right, yeah. I'm trying to decide if I want to keep going right now or call it. Wouldn't be the worst idea, as I need to get up on the early side, as I am heading out with my dad fairly early by my standards to go look at that car. I think I mentioned that I'm getting a car. Yeah. So that's a thing tomorrow. So I probably should not push the envelope on that one. Ugh. How long have I been streaming? Only 2 hours. Oh no, that's not right. 2.5 hours. That's not terrible, especially considering, like, yeah, I don't know what it is. I guess I just, like, my name with the stream wasn't as clever as I thought it was. Just like, man, no one's here at all. I look at the viewership numbers and just like everything's just like empty. It's just you. I don't know. Sure. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna call it. Let everything on this thing dry completely. And I can just focus on, like, detailing tomorrow night. Yeah, just a ton of highlighting, just tons and tons of highlighting. I don't think there's really much in the way of, like, base coating left. And then, you know, lights after that. Which the highlighting by itself is probably gonna be, like, 2 entire streams, because, I mean, it's a Land Raider. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow night. I'll say about trying to get on a little bit earlier. I started kind of late tonight. And, yeah, we're just gonna keep clocking away at this monstrosity. So, alright, I hope everyone has a good one. See you tomorrow.